Hi, my name is Justina'S, and I've been married to my husband Emmanuel for 38 years. We raised our 6 children and our 3 nephews in the Summerhill Grant Park area in the city of Atlanta. And I am here to share my journey of 2022. This is the time that I will never forget. It actually started back in 2019, right before the pandemic hit. And I went to the doctor's office and I told my doctor, I said, I'm dealing with a few little things in my body, and it just may be normal and natural for women, but I want to make sure that it is. And I told her what was going on, and she pretty much just, shrugged it off and said, "Oh, women are different. Their bodies are different. I don't think it's anything." One of the answers she gave me, I can't say it on air, but she pretty much said that, "Oh, it's normal. It's normal." And a few months later, I said, "I'm still having the same issue. Is this normal?" And I asked her to give me a pap smear. The pap smear came back. It was normal. But as a few months went on, I continued to have the same issue. It wasn't anything that was agitating. I wasn't in pain, but I just felt that at my age, I should be going, or almost finished with menopause. And that wasn't happening. So in 2020, the pandemic came, and it just pretty much turned everything upside down. There was no one that really wanted to go into a doctor's office, including me. And so I went through the year of 2020, as so many more did, and managed through and did what we had to do for our families, to make sure that we stayed safe and that others were safe and had what they needed. Because a big part of what my job is and what I do, I run a nonprofit in the city of Atlanta that encourages, equips, and empowers children and families in inner city Atlanta. So my heart has always been to take care of others, to make sure they have what they need. And now we're going through the year 2021, and I'm still having those issues. So my husband and I decided we were going to switch doctors, and I would get the opinion of my new doctor. But I did not decide to go to my new doctor until 2022. I actually suffer with high blood pressure, and I've been trying to eat a little better and exercise a little more. And I knew that I still needed my blood pressure meds to be filled. So I made an appointment with my new doctor, Dr. Julie DeGel. I went in for my first appointment with Dr. Julie DeGel in Emory. And I went through the routine, answering questions that she had for me. And right before we ended our session together, I said, Dr. DeGel, I have a question for you. And this is going on in my body, and I just want to know, is this normal? Well, right away, Dr. DeGel told me, she said, I don't think that we should chance it. Let's get some tests done. Let's run some tests and make sure that you're all right, instead of guessing at the fact that you may or may not be okay. I told her I appreciate that so much. Immediately, she ordered me a biopsy. She said this will just tell, if there's anything going on in the lining of your uterus, with any of your reproductive organs, if there are any issues, any fibroids, anything going on with your cervix. This biopsy will tell if there's an issue. If not, great. She scheduled a biopsy right away. It was actually about 2 weeks after I met with her. She wanted to get it in right away because she was actually 9 months pregnant, and she would soon be going on maternity leave. About a week before my biopsy appointment, I received a phone call from the doctor's office saying that they needed to reschedule my appointment because the doctor that would do the biopsy would not be in the office that day. This now pushed out my biopsy appointment. And about 2 days later, Dr. DeGel called me. She said, "Miss Dix, I've been trying to contact you. I wanted to make sure that you knew that your blood work came back and there's nothing that's alarming, but I want you to watch your cholesterol." And she said, "Also, I'm getting ready to go on maternity leave, and I want to make sure that you are going to get your tests done before I leave. I heard about the postponing of the biopsy appointment, so this is what we're going to do." She went to work. She said, "I'm going to schedule an ultrasound instead. And this will tell us if there's anything going on in the lining of your uterus or anything that may be alarming. And from that test result, we'll see whether or not you need to have the biopsy or keep that appointment." And I said, "It sounds like a plan." And I told her how much I really appreciate her taking the time. This was on a Friday, I believe, and she wanted to make sure that we got this ultrasound appointment scheduled before she left to go on maternity leave. She also told me that I would be in very good hands and that another doctor would be taking over my appointments. The ultrasound was able to be scheduled the following Monday, which was July the 25th. I had the ultrasound. As the technician was doing my test, she was talking me through things, and when it was all over, she told me that they would send the results the very next day to my doctor's office, and that I can call a few days after that to make sure that it got in. Well, I decided to wait a week for them to get the results in just to make sure, because I knew that the following week I had the new biopsy appointment scheduled. I heard nothing from the doctor's office, so I made sure that I called in that Thursday because my biopsy would be the following Monday. A week passed by and I didn't hear anything from my doctor's office to let me know they received the results of the ultrasound. So sometimes we just have to be very, very proactive. And I made the call to the office to say, "Hey, did you guys receive it? Because I need to know the results. I need to know whether or not I need to keep my biopsy appointment." Mind you, a biopsy is very expensive. So if you don't need one, we needed to know that. I needed to know. I heard from the nurse in the doctor's office, and she told me that she did not receive the results of the ultrasound. This started a little chase. She said, "What I need for you to do is to call the imaging place where you had your ultrasound and let them know that they need to fax us the results of the ultrasound. Once we have that, then we'll know how to move forward." I called the imaging location, talked to one of the nurse representatives, and she said, "Miss Dix, we faxed it on the same day." So she said, "What I'll do is refax it so that they will get it now." And I thanked her for doing that, waited a few minutes and called the doctor's office back. And I said, "She said that she sent it on that same day, but she faxed it a few minutes ago. Can you check to make sure it's there? And then can I get the results?" It was around 4 in the afternoon, and this nurse was very patient with me. She said, "Well, Ms. Dix, I see now that we do have the results, but all the doctors have left for the day, and I am not authorized to give you the results of the ultrasound." I said, "Okay, what can we do? Who can give me the results? Can you call a doctor and, fax them or email them my results? I need to know today so that I will know whether or not to keep my biopsy appointment." She then transferred me to a young lady named Lavelle. This young lady stayed on the phone with me for over an hour as she talked to different doctors and nurses. She called. She put me on hold maybe 6 or 7 times. She reassured me, Miss Dix, I am working on your case. I am trying to get someone that can share these results with you. She said, just hold on. We're not going to get off this phone today until I can give you an answer. And I can tell you that when you are waiting on very important news, the way that she talked to me and comforted me and let me know that I'm going to be here with you no matter how long it takes was like gold to me. I so appreciated this lady named Lavelle Lemons. So at the end of our call, she reassured me that she reached the doctor and that the doctor said that they would call me the very next morning, very early, to give me the results, to let me know whether or not I need to keep my biopsy appointment. And that is exactly what happened. I got a call early that morning and I was told that I need to keep my biopsy appointment. They did not want to share the results on the phone with me, that my doctor on Monday would share those results and tell me why I still needed to have a biopsy. So now I'm going over the weekend with this concern, with the unknown, speculating. After speculating, I chose to start praying. My husband, a couple of my children that I shared this with, I said, well, we're waiting on news. But let me tell you what was so very, very special. Lavelle called me that morning as well. And she said, I just want to make sure that you got the phone call. And I said, yes, I did. And thank you for all that you did to make sure that I got information that I needed. She said, Ms. Dix, I am praying for you. You are going to be okay. God has you. It's going to be all right. The Lord knows exactly what's happening right now, and you are his child. She just encouraged me. I can't even tell you everything she said because I'd gotten so full. I'd gotten so encouraged in that moment, and God knew that I needed to hear those words from this stranger, from this person who has never met me, didn't know me from, anyone else other than the call was transferred to her to try to help me. And I so appreciate her today. It's now Monday, August the 8th, the day of my biopsy. And a team of doctors sit down with me right before the biopsy, and they're getting very close and kind of in my face. Their posture was very comforting, but very serious. And the lead doctor pretty much said, Ms. Dix, what we see on this ultrasound is that there is a little mass in the lining of your uterus. We don't know if it's cancerous. The biopsy will tell us whether or not it is. But she told me the length of it, the width of this mass, and she told me to, not speculate, but to wait on the results of the biopsy. And then they went on to do the biopsy. It was the beginning of a journey that I was not warned that I would go through, never thought that I would go through, but here it is. Here it is. About 5 days, I believe it was on that following Friday after the biopsy, I was at home and I received a phone call. And I remember my husband and my daughter and I were sitting in the living room, and my phone rang, and it was a doctor on the other line. She said, Ms. Dix, we have the results of your biopsy, and we want to let you know that it is cancerous. And I said, can you say that again? She said, Ms. Dix, it is cancer. I couldn't believe that I just heard the C word and my name in the same sentence. Miss Dix, it is cancer. You have cancer. And I think after hearing that, I don't know what I did. I know my husband was sitting there, my daughter was sitting, and we all just froze. We froze. And I think that weekend I was just in another place. I had a board meeting scheduled the next morning. I contacted our president, David Fitzgerald, and told him that I don't think I can do it. And he and my husband talked for a while that night, and we just had to process it. I had to process it. Immediately, I started thinking, what is to happen now? My next question on the phone with the doctor is, okay, what does that mean? What's going to happen now? And she said, well, Miss Dix, I'm not going to give you any more information. You will actually need to make an appointment with a gynecologist who will give you all of the details of this biopsy. And I had to stew over that over the weekend. So the following Monday was my appointment with a gynecologist, and she told me everything in detail, so softly, so calmly. My husband was sitting by my side, and what she led with was, hello, Miss Dix, how are you doing? And she got in my face and she said, Miss Dix, if I had to have cancer, I would want the one that you have. That was a little comforting, but my thing was, you don't want cancer. You don't want cancer, any kind of cancer. I don't even know what kind of cancer I have, what it's going to do to me. I just don't know. And then her next statement was, ask me all the questions that you have before I begin to explain to you what we found. And I love that approach because I had many questions. She took her time. Another doctor came in. They took their time to talk to me and to make sure that I had every question answered, to make sure that I knew what was going on. I found out that the cancer was stage 1. They commended me for being proactive and, making sure that, I let my doctor know what was going on, and I listened to my body, and I came forth and said, I need to be tested. In mid-August, I began my appointments with my gynecologist, and I had an excellent care team throughout this process. They began to explain to me all of my options, chemo, radiation, hormone shots to possibly cause the cancer to shrink. They also mentioned a full hysterectomy. And they needed to do another ultrasound to make sure that all the cancer was contained in my uterus or if it had spread outside of my uterus, because that would determine the type of treatment that I would need or what would be best for me. After having the second ultrasound and much prayer, it was found out that the cancer was contained in my uterus, and I could now have a full hysterectomy. But after surgery, they would determine whether or not it had spread to any ligaments or any muscle tissue or, any other organs. And that would also determine whether or not I would need to have chemo or radiation post-surgery. So now all of these different things are going on, all of these different things. And now I have to share this news with my children, with my nephews who are like my children, with my mother who had been sick, with the rest of my family who I just didn't know how they were going to receive this information. I went into caretaker mode. Now I'm concerned about how everyone is going to feel or get through this hard update. I began to think about how I need to tell those that I love, how I need to tell my friends, how I need to, ask for prayer, what I need to do. And at the same time, still trying to process the fact that there is cancer living in my body. There's this unwanted thing that's in my body, and I wanted it to leave, and I actually spoke to the cancer several times and said, "You're not welcome here. You're not welcome. You can't stay here, and you need to leave." After talking with my husband, we decided to get our children and my nephews together to have a family meeting, a good heart to heart, as I told them the news. So I decided to do a breakfast, and we all came together, and I shared the news with them, and I told them that we are going to be hopeful, we're going to be prayerful, and that I am trusting God through this entire process, no matter how it turns out. And I wanted them to be hopeful as well. It was such a sweet, sweet time together. And my son and my husband prayed over me. Such a beautiful and sincere and heartfelt prayer over me that day. And I felt covered. I felt loved. I felt supported. And I knew it was going to be okay either way, because God had blessed me with a wonderful and awesome support system. And I wasn't going to be alone going through this. I'm so thankful for that. I went on to send out a text message to different friends, different ministry partners, those that, came to mind. I couldn't get to everyone, so you guys forgive me. I couldn't get to everyone to tell everyone. And sometimes I had good days and other days, wasn't so great. I just had to get through. I had to find the time to tell my mother. I was concerned about how she would receive it, knowing that she hadn't been feeling the best. And I just had to do what I had to do prayerfully. And my surgery was scheduled for November the 3rd, 2022. I prepared as much as I could, mentally, physically, began drinking teas and eating foods that help to fight cancer. Just gained as much knowledge as I could while I was going through. I'm checking on my daughter, who was just right by my side, Ashley, making sure that I had what I needed. My husband right there, making sure I got to all of my appointments and listening to everything that the doctors had to say. My family just supported me and just, they didn't skip a beat. And I so appreciate them. So thankful that I didn't have to go through it alone. So many others loving on me and praying for me, even up to the date of my surgery, doing Zoom prayer calls with those who just love me and support me. I want to thank all of you for that. Surgery came, and I was very nervous that morning, and then I just, all of a sudden, I was okay. I had prepped for the surgery, had gotten dressed, and the team of doctors came in with all their masks on. And when they came in, I don't know, I just knew it was going to be okay. This is a team that was very patient with me, that took the time to explain every step of the way, everything that was going to happen, and how confident they were that things would go well. And I think God was just in every bit of it. He was with the nurses, He was with the doctors, the staff, the anesthesiologist, every person that took care of me was so kind. And God reassured me that He had me. He had me. And I was going to be okay. After surgery, once I woke up, I was told that everything went well, that everything that needed to come out was out, and that they would do a pathology report to see whether or not there was any cancer that was left in there, and if any cancer had spread, and that they would let me know if I had to do chemo or radiation. Recovery went much better than I expected. I had little pain, and I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. My post-op appointment was on December the 14th, about a week before Christmas. And I was expecting a really, really nice Christmas present, which would be to hear from my doctors that everything was well. I went to my appointment, and my doctor assured me, my team of doctors assured me that my pathology report came back showing that all the cancer was gone, that I was cancer free, and that I would not need any chemo, I would not need any radiation, and I was good. And my next question was the type of cancer that I had, what is the likelihood of it returning? And she told me, Dr. Monaset told me that there's a 1, possibly 2% chance that cancer would return. But she says, I've never seen it, not the kind that you have. And that was very, very reassuring. And I am so thankful that I can sit here today and say that I am cancer free. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm so glad that I made it through. I pray for those who are yet going through, and I pray for the families of those who did not make it. But I encourage every woman, and this is something that Dr. Monaset told me. She said, please, if you're going to do this video, or please, when you do your video, let women know that if there's anything in their body that's going on, if there's anything that seems like it's unusual, even if it's the smallest thing, any type of bleeding, any type of pain, or just, unusual menstrual cycles or anything like that, to talk to your doctor, to push the issue. Because what I learned during this journey is that there's so many women that I see every day that are in my family, that I work with in ministry, in working with children who have had a hysterectomy, or who are going through the cancer journey, who are dealing with fibroids and cervical problems. And they've had to have hysterectomies even at early ages because of this. But Dr. Monaset told me that as soon as you start seeing anything that's irregular or that you have a question about, to ask about it right away. Things can be caught early. Cancer can be caught early. Fibroids and just different reproductive diseases can be caught early if we just push the issue. Let your doctor know that I need a simple test. The ultrasound is a simple test that can be done. MRI or a biopsy. Make sure you get your pap smears regularly. Make sure that you're getting your mammograms and just all of these things that we can help ourselves with as women. I have joined a family of women who have suffered with different types of cancer in the body, whether it's breast cancer or uterine cancer or cervical cancer. Just make sure that you are taking care of yourself, that you're checking in on yourself, because we get one time to live in this body that God is giving us before we receive our new body. Please take care of yourself, ladies, and don't be afraid to talk to other women. Don't be afraid. After receiving my results of cancer, I called a family member who I'm very, very close to, who's so dear to me. And she's my cousin, even though she's more like an aunt to me. She was a friend of my mother's growing up, and she is my cousin on my dad's side. But I just adore her, and I appreciate her for being honest with me, because I asked her, are there any issues in our family as women, that have had problems with cancer or that needed to have a hysterectomy? And she went on to share, with me several women in the family who have gone through this, and I had no idea. And it really prompted me to encourage my daughter and my granddaughters and even my other family members that we need to talk about, the different illnesses and diseases that may be going through our family, that might be a trait in our family. We need to talk about our family medical history so that we know what's happening. Because when my doctor asked me, is there any history of cancer in your family among women? My answer was, I don't know. And I knew that day that I had to change that. And so I started asking questions. And I think there are many of us out here, but we don't talk or communicate because we might feel embarrassed or ashamed or afraid or just very private people. And I understand that. I've been there. I understand that, and I respect that. But we need to find someone that we can talk to about this. And we need to find a way to get the word out in our family of our family medical history on the male side and the female side. That is one takeaway that I definitely have through this process. And I'm going to encourage all the women in my life to be open, to share, to not be afraid or ashamed. I'm even praying for a few women right now who shared their journey with me, things that they're going through right now in their body. And no one really knows about it. They just felt like they couldn't tell anyone. So I get it, women. I know. I feel you. I feel you. But let's open up more doors of communication. Let's let one another know that it's okay. Let's make safe places for us to share what we're going through as women so that we don't have to manage this alone. I am so thankful and so grateful for all of the people that prayed for me, that gave me encouraging words and sent letters and notes. All of these things are so helpful when you are going through a cancer journey or any type of physical journey that takes a toll on you mentally, physically, and emotionally. Thank you. It meant so much to me. And I'm here. I'm here. If there's ever anyone that needs to talk, if you have questions, I'm here to share more of my journey. There are intimate parts of it that I did not share on this video, but women, we can talk. We can talk to one another, and we don't have to go through this alone. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for listening. Justina, a cancer survivor, signing off.